Hey, what's up, Realtors Toolbox? We're hanging out with Renee Inman, the ever so cool insurance agent. Today, we're going to talk about insurance, what it means to you, what it means to your clients, and how we can help. So, Renee, thank you for joining us today. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to see you this morning.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I think insurance is a very important part of the real estate transaction, and you play an important role. So, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, it is a small little piece of the transaction that seems to carry a lot of weight these days. My name is Renee Inman, and I'm with Beach and O'Neill Insurance. We have been in business for over 70 years, and I have had the luxury of being there 14 of those years. We are in Citrus Heights, California, independent agency. I absolutely love where I work.
I think it's a good company from what you were telling me before, just good people to work with.
The O'Neills are magical brothers, and they are absolutely so good to all of us, and they make us all want to work hard for them. I have never worked somewhere where I have learned what I'm selling versus go out and do it. We know all of the coverages, why we use them. Explanation is everything.
Absolutely. Sounds like you got a lot of training and a lot of good family spirit over there.
Yes.
Really great. Okay. So, what kind of territory do you guys cover? You're licensed for California?
We're licensed in California, Nevada, Tennessee, Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, South Carolina, some of Texas, and we're working on a few more.
Oh, that's really great. Okay. So, you've got quite the territory. Really good. I will definitely help my clients in every way possible. And when they're buying a home, and sometimes when they're selling a home, that involves insurance. So when I am working with my sellers, what is the best way to get them prepared for the sale of their home?
When it That's a good question. So when it comes to insurance, I would normally, as a buyer's agent, see if the listing agent has kind of what we call a dummy quote for the home. And then as the buyer's agent, I would ask them to get their own quote as well and compare the two. Because sometimes we do know in the rural areas, those quotes are not really good. So that's what I would urge you to do on the selling side is get your buyers a quote up front before they make a decision to get into contract.
Okay, definitely. So maybe some sellers are kind of grandfathered in. They've got some really good deals because they've been there a long time. Do you see a lot of that?
Oh, absolutely. The insurance policy on the home that your current buyers are going to be wanting to get in contract on, that has nothing to do with what their quote is going to be. And I think that's a common misconception. Some of the captive agents have really, really awesome 10-year discounts that your buyer wouldn't qualify for any of that. So it's always good to just get your own so you guys can double check and make sure that that fits into the buyer's payment comfortability ratios. All of that checks out before they decide to move forward.
Oh, very good. Very good. So when I'm representing a buyer, then what are some factors that play into their quote?
So the home, the square footage, the year built, all of the like the roof, cabinetry, all of that factors in. The area that it's in factors in, as well as the current buyer's claims history. So all of that will be factored into the rate,
Oh,
which is why it's difficult to say, well, my seller has a quote with, let's say, Travelers, and their quote is only $1,200 a year. We don't know what that 1,200, how long they've been with Travelers. All of that factors into what their rate is versus the new buyer.
So, if a person has a long history of no claims on their insurance, that is different from somebody who is a very young buyer who doesn't have a lot of history. Is that true?
No, I think they look at it as no claims is no claims.
Okay.
That's kind of how I've seen it. I don't think if you're younger that affects you unless it's no insurance.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So when somebody is looking at a country property, over in our area, we say up in the foothills, often has very high fire insurance. What are some of the factors that come into those high fire insurance areas?
That's a really, really good question. There's a lot of misconception about how these rates are determined. And I can tell you from what I know on our end, they look at tree density,
Okay.
they look at the fire department, how far the fire department is, they look at if there's a hydrant within 1,000 feet of the home, if the home is on county water or well water, obviously all the characteristics of the home itself, roof, stucco, uh, slab foundation, all of that comes into play. Plus, you have what carriers are even looking in that area to insure.
Mhm.
You also have what carriers write in that area but are oversaturated in the area, so will not write. There's all these factors involved.
Wow. So it changes pretty quickly over time. The beginning of the year could be very different from August, right? Like everything changes so much.
It does change so much. And I think right now in California, I mean, we are in September of 2023. And just this year, I think that the insurance industry has changed. I think it's done a 180 since the beginning of the year. So we're all just trying to keep up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had an experience where I was working with some buyers and they looked at one home that was 1 acre, kind of in the foothills, and that they were quoted 2,200 a year just for fire insurance, but 10 more miles up the road, they were quoted 6,000 a year just for the fire insurance portion. And that really makes or breaks some people and their budgets. So it was interesting to see it wasn't that much of a distance, but the insurance was definitely different. And I understand there's different things that come into play to make that choice, but to kind of get that information as you're shopping with your buyer, it could be very time saving and very important, and make you look like you're on the ball when you're working with that buyer. So, as an insurance agent, am I bugging you if I call you up and say, "Hey, Renee, can you give me an estimate on what do I say? A quote on this house, and this house. We're gonna go on Sunday. What do you think of these properties?"
Well, first of all, most agents would be honored that we could be a resource to help. I think that it's also a time saving tool to use us in that way for yourself, because why would you want to go up the hill and with your first time home buyer and get a $7,000 a year policy, and that would probably be a deal breaker for them to even go and love the house and try to figure out how they're going to make it work.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great tool for you guys to be able to say, I'm taking some clients out on Tuesday night, and can I have these quotes? These are the 3 homes they're looking for. What say you? And then I can maybe respond back, or one of our agents can respond back and say, hey, the house at this address, that would be a no-go for me. This is what the annual premium is.
Yeah.
That could just be a house you check off. And I know that that's not what everybody wants to hear, but when it comes to wasting time, nobody wants to waste anybody's time.
Right.
But that's not to say that that quote wouldn't scare another one of your buyers off.
Right.
One of your other buyers, that might not be a big deal for them. And we're finding sometimes we can give you our best and final, and the client is like, yeah, we'll do it. And we're like, you will?
Yeah.
This
Really?
But they're like, yeah, we're going to have it for a few
Oh,
years and then we're going to probably sell it. So we're not really trying to stay here. We're not retiring here. So
yeah.
to them, it's an investment strategy. To us, I mean, obviously, you want to let them know, hey, it's really high. Sometimes people don't bat an eye, and sometimes it's a deal breaker.
Yeah. You were telling me about one insurance quote that you did that was really high. What was that amount again?
So it was a home up and rescue, and it was on 5 acres, and it was a big colonial style, completely redone. But theirs went from, so initially it was 9,000, and then the premium went up to 14,000.
Oh my goodness.
And then the premium went up into the 20s. And granted, this client of ours is amazing and he shops us, which is his he does all his due diligence. That's his mission to shop.
Yeah.
So what him and his neighbors did in their community is they all banded together and they worked with the fire department. I don't know if it was the county, and then they got a hydrant installed. So there was a hydrant within 1,000-foot proximity of all of these 4 or 5 homes.
That's
It
a good idea.
helped him.
Some of those,
Obviously, that's not something that everybody could do, but I just thought that was we didn't even know you could do that.
yeah, I didn't either. Yeah. What a great idea. And I can only imagine how many thousands of dollars that saved those 5 houses.
Yeah, he ended up renewing at the 14,000, which is still crazy.
That's a lot. But maybe they love it.
Yes.
Like everything, sometimes you work with the buyer and everything about the house works and they love it and it's their dream and the insurance is only a
Well,
small
for
part of
him,
it.
yeah, they're not staying there forever. So he was the guy I was talking about earlier. That's like, we're going to stay here for 5 years. And when our kids graduate, we're moving. So we're going to stick it out. However, as a realtor, when you're shopping, your clients want to look in Grass Valley or Pollock Pines or Nevada City or Penn Valley, we talked about yesterday,
Oh my goodness, Penn Valley.
those are the places that you want to be like, get your insurance agent on speed dial and say, hey, can I have an indication on these 2 homes? I have some clients looking. I'd love to check some of these off, or maybe we can, also you can get a new list together of homes that are more affordable insurance wise. We can kind of tell you there's unfortunately not a map like there is with flood. There's not a map. It's really case by case basis now.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're factoring in how far is the fire hydrant, how big is the house, how like there's so many factors. So then it's so individual now.
Right.
Right, right.
Absolutely.
So I want to kind of come back to the listing agent's responsibility. And I know many of my friends who are agents, they'll just mention to any potential buyer's agents that this particular house, the owner pays X amount of dollars a year for fire insurance. And they'll pass along that information. Other agents I know will say nothing about the fire insurance cost. They'll say they don't know, and maybe they don't know, but they just kind of push it back on the buyers agents to look at that kind of information for themselves. What do you recommend for listing agents? What do you think the best practice for that is?
So that is a super awesome question. And that goes back to my point prior that even if you're a listing agent and you have a home in any area, it's always good to just have a quote for yourself on that address. So you kind of know that whatever buyer plugs into that quote, obviously their claims history will affect that general number.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great way for you to kind of be in the know. I mean, sometimes there's parts of Granite Bay and there's parts of Loomis and there's parts of Plumas Lake that the premiums are astronomical for one reason or another, it could be like a little stream going through, and all of a sudden that they need this huge flood policy. It's like those are the kinds of things that you want to be ahead
Wow.
of the curve, so you know that you can get a well qualified buyer in and you don't have any surprises in the middle of escrow.
Yeah, yeah, just it's a transparency kind of idea to be upfront
And
and supply the
it's huge.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I feel like we've touched on buyers, we've touched on sellers. What can agents do? So I have a different question, and some people kind of kick this idea around. And my question has to do with if I'm in my home and some damage occurred, and whatever storm damage, what flood damage, whatever it is, whatever happened. So there's this idea that if I don't claim it on my insurance, then my rates won't go up. But then if I do claim it on my insurance company might drop me. What is actually going on? What's the truth about what is happening out there? So,
I wish I could give you one answer, and I can't because each insurance company has a different way they look at claims. That's just the way it is. So, my best advice would be to call your insurance agent. I mean, unless it's a catastrophic claim, of course, but if you're kind of toggling back and forth whether you want to claim something or not, call your insurance agent and talk to them about it. And a lot of times we can tell you what your deductible is. Let's just say you have a general idea of how much the repair is going to cost. I mean, I don't know if you remember last season, there was all of the wind. There was a ton of fences down, and we fielded probably hundreds of calls of people's with fence down. And some folks had $1,000 deductibles. Some folks had $2,500 deductibles or $5,000 deductibles. So none of it really made sense to claim the fence. So I think just kind of having knowledge before you decide if you want to make the claim or not, from your insurance agent sometimes we can talk you through it and say, at the end of the day, it's probably not worth it because this is what your deductible is. Or sometimes we can say, here's what your deductible is, and it's completely up to you, because I can't tell you to make one or not to make one. I just think that sometimes in the past, we've seen insurance companies, so the claim will be open because the client inquired, but there was never anything paid. And it follows that client around because it was just an inquiry. And so sometimes I try to say, just talk to your agent first. Maybe we can help you with some of that information first before you call the company. That's my best advice in this market.
gotcha.
And that is subject to change once companies start coming back into California and our insurance market softens a little bit.
I think that's one thing when it comes to anything real estate related, whether it's realtors or insurance or any aspect of real estate, it's always changing. So,
always.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we can count on.
That's the one thing yeah, like death and taxes. It's going to change. Don't worry. So,
but hopefully we can be here for you along the way, you informed, and you will always have somebody that you can talk to. I think it's awesome to have an insurance agent in your back pocket that you trust, that you can, help you through this hard time and help your clients decide where they should be, what the insurance is before they even go step foot in anywhere. I think it's great for listing agents to do it, for buying agents to do it, homeowners to do it. Everybody should be shopping.
Absolutely. Sounds really good. Well, this has been really great. A lot of great information here. For those of you who are sharpening your tools in the Realtor's Toolbox, thank you for joining us. If you need any more information, if you have any more questions, you can comment below. But right here on the bottom of this screen is Renee's information. You can call or email her for anything, and we will keep sharpening our tools. Thanks for having us today, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Bye, you
Renee.
guys. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.